14. She clearly likes him. Since Bryce wasn't willing to help, Natalie could only rely on herself. She had to find her child. She absolutely couldn't let her father and the others win. She made up her mind and returned to her family home, but did not go in through the main entrance. Instead, she snuck in through the backyard, carefully avoiding all the surveillance cameras. Her father had taken Liam, so the first place she thought he might have taken him was this house. If her father had him hidden in any corner of this place, she would find him, leave with him, and never return. But even though she looked all over, there was no sign of him. He wasn't there. She raised her eyebrows, but before she could think about it anymore, she heard a sweet voice say, "Wow, I'm so tired." It was Cheryl. Natalie was shocked. She immediately hid behind a potted plant, using the dense foliage to hide herself. Through the gaps between the leaves, she saw Cheryl and Nick slowly walking toward her. "If you're tired, why don't we go and lie down?" Nick raised his eyebrows with a suggestive smile. "You're so annoying," Cheryl scolded him playfully. He pulled her into his embrace and lightly touched the tip of her nose. "I know you like it. Why won't you admit it?" "You're so annoying. I'm ignoring you." Cheryl, whose thoughts had been exposed, pretended to be angry and turned her face away. But Nick continued to tease her, even though he knew she was pretending. Looking at the two of them and hearing Nick's sweet words, bitterness surged up in Natalie's heart, and she quietly clenched her hands by her sides. Back then, he had teased her like this. Back then, she had thought that he loved her and that they would spend the rest of their lives together. But this lack of trust in her after the incident had completely destroyed her feelings for him. When she thought about how she had once felt about this piece of trash, she wanted to laugh. She really must have been blind. "Dad told me to take care of that annoying kid." When Natalie heard Cheryl mention her son, she quickly stopped her mind from wandering and listened attentively. "He's at the hotel by himself. If anything happens, it'll be trouble. But I don't really want to go," Cheryl pouted. She wasn't willing to go to the hotel to take care of Natalie's son. Nick frowned. In all honesty, he hated Liam. The boy's existence reminded him of Natalie's betrayal all those years ago. But as Cheryl had said, he was very important to the Davidson family. So he weighed the pros and cons, suppressed his disgust, and said to Cheryl with a smile, "I'll go with you." "Really?" She was pleasantly surprised. He nodded. "Let's go." "All right." "Liam's at the hotel." Natalie watched Cheryl and Nick's retreating backs. She followed them quietly. In fact, she followed them all the way to the hotel without them realizing it. But when she reached the front door, she was stopped by the concierge. "Miss, please show me your membership card." "Membership card?" Natalie frowned. Seeing her doubt, the concierge explained, "Our hotel requires a membership card to enter." Natalie didn't have a membership card. She could only watch as Cheryl and Nick disappeared from her sight. She sighed in frustration, stepped back, and looked up at the hotel. She didn't know which floor Liam was being kept on. Meanwhile, in the restaurant on the second floor of the hotel, Bryce was eating with his parents. Robert and Michelle Claire had been living abroad for a long time. It was rare for them to come back to America, so Bryce had canceled his previous engagements and come to the hotel to meet them for dinner. As a parent, when she saw that her son still didn't have a girlfriend, despite being 32 years old, a suitable age for marriage, his mother felt anxious. "Bryce, when are you going to get married?" She put down the spoon she had been holding while eating and glared with dissatisfaction at Bryce, who was sitting opposite her. "When it's time, of course," he replied plainly. Hearing this, Michelle couldn't help but get angry. "You always talk back to your father and me. I think you wouldn't get married even if we died." "Mom." Bryce lifted his hand and rubbed his forehead. He looked at her helplessly. "I will get married, but I can't just rush into it." Hearing that, she let out a heavy sigh and her tone became more gentle. "I know you've been very busy these past few years, so busy that you didn't have time to think about your personal life. But now that the company is growing so steadily, it's time for you to make a plan. Your dad and I are still waiting to hold our grandson." Michelle said this while nudging Robert, who was still sitting beside her. He was surprised, but he reacted quickly. "Your mother is right. Now that the Claire family is in a stable position, you should relax. Find a girlfriend, get married. Did they think he could find a girlfriend just anywhere? That he could get married just like that? Bryce didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head. Then out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a woman standing outside the hotel entrance downstairs. His gaze suddenly turned cold. Why was she here? Michelle noticed that something was wrong with him and frowned. Bryce, are you all right? He looked away and shook his head. It's nothing. He lowered his head to eat, but his eyes, which held a frosty expression, never left the woman. He hadn't expected her to follow him here. If he had known she would do this, he would never have helped her. Apparently, he couldn't shake her off so easily. A wave of disgust rose in his heart. He withdrew his gaze and continued to eat, pretending that he hadn't seen her. Downstairs, Natalie didn't know that she had been spotted by Bryce. She continued to look up at the hotel, her teeth nibbling at her lower lip, her pretty little face clearly annoyed. She knew that Liam was inside, but she couldn't reach him. She was livid. It didn't matter, though. As long as he was here, she had time to find a way to get him out. The most important thing right now was figuring out how to get inside. Just when she felt a loss for what to do, she saw an advertisement in the window next to her. The hotel was hiring waiters and waitresses. Natalie's eyes lit up. She had hope. She tore down the advertisement, returned to the concierge, and showed it to him. I'm not a member. I'm here to apply.